Hello guys, it's me, Tsumugi, or you can call me Jones if you want to. Welcome to this video, and this video is going to talk about how to make a cheap and effective 1500 Tyranid competitive list. Yes, it's competitive, but it's also beginner friendly because you don't have to spend as much money, and this list will focus more on getting the most bang for your buck. So I'll try to squeeze everything I can do to make sure that the money you're paid for aren't going to waste. So in this list, you won't see any sort of like model going to waste. Maybe you bought like 12 models and I only use 6 of them. That thing won't happen in this list, alright? This list is crafted in a way that not only is good on table, but it also is good in value. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, let's see what you want to buy with this list. You want to buy a Start Collecting Tyranid box. You want to buy a Hive Tyrant, 3 Hormagaunts, 1 Genestealers, 1 Zoanthrope, 4 Termagants, and 1 Hive Guard, which is detailed here. You can just take your time, take a look, screenshot it, whatever. I will put everything in the description so you can see what you're paid for. As you can see, it's about roughly $500, you know, maybe a little bit more than 500. So for $500, you get 1500 point worth of Tyranids. That's effective. Like I said, it's effective on table, but it's also very valuable. It's packed with value. So I make this list with value in mind. I don't want you to waste money, you know, because I wasted tons of money to buy stuff like in Necrons or even Tyranid itself. You know, I waste a lot of money buying useless stuff. But you know, if you're here because you're tired of just like wandering around and just buy random stuff, or you're tired of asking people online like what you need to buy, then here's your stop. Just buy these and get a list done. Now, like I said in my previous earlier edition of the video, which is no longer up to date, is outdated because chapter approved dropped. You know, by the time you see this video, chapter approved probably dropped already. Now, if you still want to make a list, a viable list for beginners, then this list is for you. So enough with the introduction. Let's jump right into the list. So this list will contain 2 battalion detachments, which will consist 2 different hive fleets. Now you have 1 Kraken and 1 Yormungandr. Normally speaking, when I craft the list, it's usually Kraken with Chronos, which is the mainstream way to do it now. But I feel like if I want to squeeze Chronos Battalion inside in this list, the list will be not as effective, and also you'll be spending a tons of money. You know, because you need to get a lot of Hive Guards, you need to get Exocrine, you need to get a lot of Ripper Swarm, which is not realistic. It is not realistic. You know, for instance, a Chronos Battalion usually consists 3 Ripper Swarms per slot, so you need 9 Ripper Swarm base. In order to get that, you either buy it from Forge World, which I wouldn't recommend, they're very hard to paint, or you can get it from second hand, or you can get it with Termagant box, which is really hard to come by if you're just gonna buy Termagant box one by one. It's gonna waste a lot of money. So with that in mind, I figured maybe Jormungandr is a better choice here. And since the Start Collecting Tyranid box set contains a Trygon, I figured, like, you know what, why don't I just try to be a little bit creative here and try to make a list happen. Alright, so as you can see, Kraken Battalion, it's a little bit more, I should say, it's pretty traditional. It's pretty classic and standard. You have, usually it's 2 Hive Tyrants, but in this list I make it one of them into Broodlord, because in this edition, now Broodlord got point reduction in the latest chapter approved. It went from 162 point, dropped to 115 point, which is really cheap now. It is super cheap right now, so it makes it like a valid choice to be a forward synapse provider again. Alright, so you have 1 Broodlord, 1 Hive Tyrant with Quad Devourer, obviously, with Chameleonic Mutation, and Callus as well as Onslaught. If you're not following me here, if you're completely new to Tyranids, don't worry, don't panic, I'll explain everything later on, alright? And then you get 16 Genestealers, 18 Hormagaunts, 18 Hormagaunts, alright? That's your Kraken Battalion. So let's start with Kraken Battalion. So what does each thing do? Let's say you're completely new to Tyranids, you have no idea, you're a Warhammer 40k veteran, but you never played Tyranid before, and you want to know what each unit does. Alright, so let me do a brief explanation to you. And if you want more detailed version of it, you can check out my other videos. I will talk about each specific unit more detailed. Alright? So Broodlord is a character which has less than 10 wounds, which means it cannot be targeted by anything except sniper attack. Okay, so Tyranids, you need the synapse thing going on. You have to have synapse for your lesser creature in order to give them immunity to morale test, alright? And then as well as enable them to not getting the -1 to hit roll as well as the charge roll by instinct behavior, which happens for Hormagaunts, right? So you need to have solid synapse in frontline in order to maintain their morale. Okay, so Broodlord, it's a good choice here. It's cheap. It's cheap now. It used to be really expensive. It's cheaper now. Okay, it's cheaper now, and now you can actually cast a second ability with the Horror. Now the Horror is a -1 to hit debuff. That's targeted to the enemy, which is really useful. And Broodlord runs really fast. It has 8-inch movement, so it's able to advance as well as charging in the same turn. Broodlord and Genestealer can both do that. So in Kraken Battalion, the Kraken Battalion allows you to roll 3d6 in advancing, and you pick the highest result, which greatly increases the odds of you getting a 5 or a 6 when it comes to advancing. And combine that with the high movement of Broodlord, Genestealers, and Hormagaunts, which are all 8-inch movement, you can easily catch up with the enemy frontline super fast. Alright, so Broodlord is there to keep up with the forward units. Now Hive Tyrant is a little bit different. Hive Tyrant doesn't need to be in the front line. It can be anywhere. You can even deep strike it if you want to. Now Hive Tyrant, okay, the reason why I give it 4 Devourer, which we call it quad Devourer, but it's actually 2 set of twin Devourer. You will give it 24 shots of strength 6 AP nothing and damage of 1, which doesn't sound that amazing. But if you combine it with the survivability of Hive Tyrants, it becomes really scary. Now with wings, obviously you have more mobility, so you can fly away from danger, as well as keep on shooting after fall back, because you have fly keyword if you give it wings. Now if you give it Chameleonic Mutation, which is a specific relic exclusive for Kraken Hive fleets, it gives the Hive Tyrant -1 to hit. So you can see where this is going. Now Hive Tyrant, alright, it has 3+ armor save, 4+ invulnerable save, alright, and if you give it's toughness 7 with 12 wounds, so it's pretty tough, right? Now if we give it Chameleonic Mutation, it gives another -1 to hit on top of all that, and I also give it Catalyst power, second power, which if you cast it on yourself, you can get another 5+ Feel No Pain save, which basically transforms your Flyrant into somewhat of a mini Mortarion, alright, it's really hard to kill. Now not only you're really hard to kill, you're also fast. You're fast, you're hard to kill. You have 4 Devourers that can really dish out damage to the forward trash unit, alright, so like the bubble wrapping units, such as Guardsmen, alright, Scouts, or if you're fighting another Tyranids, maybe Termagants, the bubble wrapping unit is the main dish for Flyrants. Because it has high mobility, it can actually fly forward, way ahead of Broodlord and Genestealers and Hormagaunts and start shooting away. Because the weapon has 18-inch range, and with the 12-inch movement from Hive Tyrant, you'll be able to get there, no problem. Alright? So Hive Tyrant is there in order to also provide synapse, because the synapse range, unlike Broodlord, it's actually 18 inches instead of 12 inches. Alright, so it's much longer, and not only that, it's really hard to kill. So you have a really hard to kill and annoying taunting unit to tell enemy, hey, hit me, attack me, but actually you don't have to do a lot of damage in order for them to do that. Okay, you just have to fly around, be annoying, and remember to cast Catalyst on yourself in order to keep that 5+ Feel No Pain. Okay, now Genestealers, I don't care if you play Imperial Guard or Tau or maybe Eldar. If you heard of Tyranids before, you'll probably know where this is going. Genestealers is the most efficient melee combat unit, alright? It might not be like the most heavily armored, it might not be the most devastating, but it is the most efficient. It's 12 points per model, okay, if you don't give it some weird upgrade. It's only 12 points per model, it has 8-inch movement, and it's able to advance and charge on the same turn. So you can see where this is going. Kraken allows all units to advance with 3d6 and pick the highest result. So that makes Genestealer already move pretty fast, and allow Genestealer to advance and charge. That's really crazy, okay? That's super crazy. Now, you can see there's 4 Acid Maw here. You might be wondering what the hell is that? Acid Maw is a free upgrade that's available to Genestealers. The only restriction here is you have to, every 4 Genestealers get 1 Acid Maw. So 16 Genestealers, you get 4, alright? And Sizing Talons, don't forget about Sizing Talons, alright? If you're making lists with Battle Scribe and you click Genestealers, don't forget to give it like a Sizing Talon, because Sizing Talon, number 1, having 2 pairs of Rending Claw doesn't give you any sort of benefit whatsoever. Okay, so having a pair of Sizing Talon, 2, Sizing Talon is free. So having a pair of Sizing Talon is like having 1 extra option to of melee weapon. Sizing Talon does not have any sort of AP, but you're able to reroll once to hit, which is pretty good when you're fighting units like guards, or you're fighting units like Termagants, Kotas, or Scouts. You know, like unit with bad armor save. But if you're fighting like Space Marine, if you're fighting Terminators, then you have to use Rending Claw, because Rending Claw can trigger AP 4 on a wound roll of 6, as well as it comes with like -1 AP by default. So if you're hitting heavy armor unit, use your Rending Claw. If you're hitting like a bad armor unit, just use the Sizing Talons, alright? And again, Sizing Talon is free. Just don't forget to include that, and also add that to your model. When you model Genestealers, don't forget add the Sizing Talon on the model, alright? We want to get the what you see is what you get, okay? And 36 Hormagaunts, I split them into 2 squad, obviously because that will fulfill the troop choice of this battalion, but also Hormagaunts is a distraction unit that's able to hunt down the enemy unit without killing them, but instead trapping them in the close combat where they cannot get out. And with Hormagaunts' special ability, Bounding Leap, Hormagaunts is able to consolidate and pow in 6 inches instead of 3. Like, most units can only do 3 inches, which does not allow them to move extra inch to get around the enemy, but Hormagaunts can. So what you can do here is like, you can get Hormagaunts in the combat and then use pow in and consolidate to spread like a disease and move onto the unit that you did not declare charge. You can do that, that's totally legal. However, you cannot attack unit that you did not declare charge. But that doesn't really matter, isn't it? Because you already denied their shooting. The only way for them to shoot again is to either kill you in melee combat or fall back next turn, which, you know, normally they cannot shoot after they fall back, unless they have some special rule that allows them to do so, or they have the fly keyword. Okay, so that's the Kraken Battalion here. Now let's move on to the Jormungandr Battalion. Now Jormungandr Battalion is very interesting because, like I said, I don't want to make like a regular Kraken Chronos list, because number 1, it won't fit in 1500 point, and number 2, I feel like if you want to have like the most powerful Chronos list, you probably need 2000 point to do that. Okay, but don't worry, this Jormungandr unit choice, it's preparing you for Chronos list later on. So everything you see here for the Jormungandr Battalion, it's not going to waste. In future, if you want to play a Chronos Battalion, which I highly recommend that you do, you can use most of these units in the Chronos detachment. So don't worry about that, alright? First of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room, alright? The Trygon, Neurothrope, and 30 Termagant, alright? So for most of the experienced player, you probably see where this is going. For new players, now Trygon is a unit that allows you to carry 1 single troop choice of the same Hive fleet. So for instance, I can carry the Termagant here, I can carry the Termagant here, I can carry the Ripper Swarm if I really want to, which I don't recommend. I can carry the Hive, no, not a Hive card, just the troop choice, alright? I can carry a troop choice, but I cannot carry Genestealers, Hormagaunts here, because it's 2 different Hive fleets. If this is also Jormungandr Battalion, then I can, but since it's different Hive fleet, you cannot carry us different Hive fleet units, I mean troops, alright? So Trygon, it's able to carry 30 Termagants with Devourer. Now, Devourer, it's a weapon, it's an Assault 3 weapon, okay? It's 18-inch range, it's a close range weapon, which means like you can't simply just walk and shoot, because it's gonna be really slow, right? The Termagant only has 6-inch movement, you know, like moving and shooting is really slow. But if you add a Trygon, okay, you add a Trygon and you allow to deep strike the Termagants, you can drop 30 Termagants, each wielding a weapon of Assault 3 into the enemy's face. Okay, so Assault 3 times 3 times 30, that's 90 shots of Strength 4 AP nothing. which doesn't sound that amazing, right? I mean, yeah, okay, 90 shot, that's kind of scary, but it's not that amazing, all right? Can you even kill like I don't know, like the full squad of Devastators? Actually, you can, because when Devastators are sitting inside the cover, they are getting 2+ armor save instead of 3+, right? Because they got the bonus for being in cover, which most shooting unit will. So in order to counter that, I slipped another Neurothrope inside Trygon, alright? Which you will have to activate a Jormungandr exclusive stratagem called the Enemy Below that allows you to transport a single infantry squad, okay, into the stuff you're deep striking, which is Trygon here, alright? Trygon itself is allowed to carry one single troop, which is Termagant, but spending one extra command point, you can carry another infantry, which is Neurothrope, okay? Now, the Neurothrope, I gave it 2 power, Psychic Scream and Devourer. Now, the Psychic Scream obviously is designed to counter caster. Now, Psychic Scream does similar things like Smite. It deals mortal it deals mortal wound, and it gets bonus when you're targeting a Psyker, which is fine. But if there's no Psyker, that's fine. You can just smite away and cast the Horror. Now, the Horror's ability, I highly recommend you to cast regardless of what combination you're going for, because the Horror is a debuff that -1 to hit of the enemy units. Okay, so let's say you cast this on like a Land Raider, then all the weapon on Land Raider has -1 to hit, which will greatly reduce its firepower. Okay, same thing can apply to Devastator Squads or Dark Reapers or Tau 104. You can do that if you really want to, but yeah, that's really mean. Anyways, that's not the point. The point here is the Warlord trait, which, by the way, the Neurothrope is Warlord here, even though the Mutation relic is given to the Hive Tyrant, is the Insidious threat. Now, Insidious threat is another Jormungandr exclusive Warlord trait. What it does is it allows any unit within 3 inches of the Warlord to ignore cover when they're shooting. So you see where this is going. With 30 Termagants with Devourers, if you're shooting at a Devastator squad sitting inside cover, they are not getting any sort of cover whatsoever. Alright, they're not getting any sort of cover. And by the way, the Insidious threat, it affects any units that's within 3 inches, which means you don't have to be wholly within 3 inches of the Neurothrope in order to activate that. As long as one model from the Termagant squad is within 3 inches, the whole squad gets the bonus. Okay, so this is Termagant Bomb, but with a little bit more added firepower. Alright, you still have the Termagant with Devourer, you have the Trygon. The Trygon itself is not a bad unit as well. The Trygon in this edition get 20-point reduction, which is okay, I guess. Now it's okay to actually use Trygon. Trygon has Strength 7, AP 3, massive sizing talent attack, which can be okay versus tanks. You know, Predators, Rhinos, maybe Hellhound, maybe Basilisk. Anything that's not toughness 8, Trygon can handle. Right? Trygon can handle that sort of target. What you cannot handle is a unit with toughness 8, like Lehman Russ, Imperial Knights, or the Death Guard. I think it's called Plague Hurler. I'm not sure. The Death Guard tank, alright, with the giant mortar on top of it. It's toughness 8, 5+ invulnerable save. You know, like invulnerable save with toughness 8. It's bad news for Tyranids because there isn't many way to deal with it. But that's why I use 3 Hive Guard of Shot Cannon. Now, usually Hive Guard are equipped with Impaler Cannon. That's their usual Chronos outfit, but that's okay. When you're making this model, don't make it into a Shot Cannon. Since this is a beginner list, I don't think anyone's going to mind that you're playing, you're not getting like completely what you see is what you get. I mean, it's really fair. You just, model-wise, just equip it with Imperial Cannon, but like game-wise, just tell your opponent it's actually Shot Cannon, and you're not using any other Hive Guard unit that has different weapon equipment, so you're not confusing them in any way. Just tell them kindly, or you know, like most of the time, people who don't even play Tyranids, they can't even tell. Just tell them what it is, there won't be any problem. But when you make this model for future's sake, let's say if you're going to be like a tournament player, and what you see is what you get, it's strictly advised there, then you know, modeling them with Imperial Cannon is going to help you in long run. So just Like I said, just model them with Imperial Cannon, but use them as Shot Cannon. Now, what Shot Cannon does, alright, it's 24 inches assault D3 weapon, which on average is 2 shot, just like its Imperial Cannon counterpart. It's only strength 7, AP -1, and D3 damage, which is not that amazing, right? I mean, I already said this is designed for toughness 8 vehicle hunting, but it only has strength 7, so how does that make sense? Now, Shot Cannon is a weapon that if you wound on 4+, it doesn't matter if you successfully wound or not, as long as it's a 4+, you get to deal additional mortal wound on the target if it's a vehicle, which is pretty much abundant on the current meta. Alright, like Imperial Knight, Land Raider, or Lima Ross Battle Tank, it's pretty common to see them on the battlefield. Now, if you have Shot Cannon, alright, doesn't matter if you fail to wound, you can, on a 4+, you deal 1 mortal wound. On 6+, you deal D3 mortal wounds. And this is in addition to the damage you deal with the Shot Cannon itself. Alright, so this is really good. Now, what you can do is, instead of transporting just Neurothrope and Termagant, you can spend another command point, which is the same stratagem that allows you to bring the Neurothrope in the first place, the enemy below. You can spend 1 extra command point and bring the Hive Guard as well. Alright, you can bring the Hive Guard with the Trygon and just pop next to a tank, use the Termagant with Devourer to eliminate all the bubble wrappers, and you let the Hive Guard to shoot at the tank if you want to. Or shoot all of them in the tank if that's what you want. Okay, they're all pretty good because the massive amount of firepower is going to be very useful. Alright, now finally we have a Neurothrope, Ripper Swarm, and 18 Termagant. Now, these units are not going to sit in the back the whole game. I mean, if there's an objective in your base, then of course, by all means. But if there's nothing in your base, then you can take your Neurothrope combined with your Termagant and start doing skirmishes and, you know, like roaming around the battlefield, capturing the objective, and just sit there with your Neurothrope and Termagants. And the Ripper Swarm is a troop choice as well. You can deep strike it anywhere on the map as long as 9 inches away from the enemy. This is pretty useful in capping the objective. Now, once again, like I said, in the regular list, you'll probably want 3 squad of 3 Ripper Swarm because they are very cheap and they can deep strike, so that's great. But since this is a beginner list, I don't want to pressure you too much on buying that much Termagant box in order to get the Ripper Swarm or go into Forge World. I'm just saying maybe just 3 Ripper Swarm is enough for a starter army. Alright, you can start with 3 Ripper Swarm and you'll be fine. So that's it for the list, and thank you guys for watching. And like I said, all the information here are going to be linked in the description, or actually just written in the description. If you have any sort of question about this list, just feel free to comment down below. I'll be very happy to answer them for you. And thank you guys for watching. This is Tsumugi signing out. Goodbye everyone, good night.